Hello. Vibrational categories. You stated about 2 people ago that someone was driving in their car, happily listening to an Abraham tape, and over here in their vibration that was active was, I hate cops. And they weren't really thinking about that. They were listening to the Abraham tape. So...
Well, the Abraham recording was playing.
My question is, if you completely forget and not think about this, not improve it, not make it worse, just leave it where it was,
then it will be deactivated in your vibration, and law of attraction will now give you nothing that has anything to do with it, because you will not be offering a vibration about it. In other words, you would, when you remove it from your thought, you remove it from your vibration, you remove it from your point of attraction, and you remove it from your experience. And anything that shows up, you haven't done that.
Okay. So not thinking about something in specific and thinking about something completely different and being happy, just completely flowing happy energy over here, won't roll over and clean up or improve those things that you don't think about. So that is not a technique that I can use to make this better. Or the other things. There are so many of these things going on in my space.
As he waves his broken arm around.
Well, I just did this so that I could experience more challenges and learn how to use my right hand more. So,
well, you're raising a very good point, because what we're really talking about is when you give your attention to something, it's already vibrating, and as you give your attention to it, you activate that vibration within you. Now, if it's just a passing glance, no activation happens. But if you give your attention to something for as little as 17 seconds, that is enough for the vibration to be activated within you, where your point of attraction begins to shift. Now, if you maintain your attention to it longer, then there is a stronger point of activation. In other words, when something really begins to take vibrational hold within you is at about the 68-second point of attention to a subject. Now, there are those who have set timers and tried to focus, and they're trying to maintain their attention upon something for 17 seconds. And we think it's worth doing, because if you can give your attention to something for as little as 17 seconds, another thought like it will join it. In other words, there's a sort of explosion, sort of like the Big Bang, only much smaller, that happens. And as you give your attention to it for another 17 seconds, now another sort of culminating of vibrations comes together. And by the time you have maintained your vibrational attention to something for as little as 68 seconds, it has a real foothold in your vibrational patterning. Now, a lot of things do. In other words, there's much that you give your attention to that you want to remain active in your vibration, but there's much that you give your attention to that you would like to deactivate. So you say, well, what about a process where I am deliberately listening to things or thinking about things or focusing upon things that hold me in a good feeling place? And we say, that's really a wonderful thing, because by not looking at that, you don't activate it, but you can't not look at that unless you choose something else to look at, or unless you have the ability to quiet your mind altogether. That's the power of meditation. That is quieting the mind, which stops the activation of whatever it is that was going on. And when you do that, your vibration naturally raises. So let's say that you have something that has been bothering you for a while. Maybe you were born into a family that was bothered about it, and maybe you joined groups about it. So it's rather active in your vibration. Well, you're not all of a sudden just going to deactivate that vibration. It's going to remain active within you until you have replaced it with other vibrations.
So change that vibration. Change that topic specifically.
If someone says to us, I cannot stop thinking about something, if it has something to do with dollars, which is a very active vibration, or something about your body, or something about a relationship that is meaningful. There are some subjects where the activation is so powerful that when you attempt to just not think about it, or when you attempt to change the subject to something else, it is compelling. It's a bit what our friend earlier wanted to talk about, and we didn't quite get to it in the full sense of the word, about the thought addiction. A thought addiction is just one of those powerfully activated thoughts that comes up often and easily, and that you keep active by now your soft attention to it. Wait just one second, because we're right on the brink of, we think, the answer that you're looking for. You see, if you really turn your attention away from something, it will be inactive until eventually there will be no point of attraction whatsoever. But it's relatively easy, even without being aware that you are doing it, to keep something activated just by gentle, not even very frequent attention to it. In other words, there are some subjects that you beat the drum of so powerfully, that are so active in your vibration, that now it's very easy for you to keep it activated with very little attention to it. And this example of the woman with the ticket was exactly that sort of thing. It was so active in her vibration, and only momentarily not as active, but still very active in her vibration, so that even the policeman being in the vicinity, even though she had not seen him, his active vibration activated her vibration enough that they had a rendezvous point by law of attraction.
So if she wanted to not get any tickets in the future, she would have had to clean up her policeman's vibration before she got onto the road.
She has to do one of two things. She has to deactivate it, or she has to clean it up.
Oh, deactivate it meaning not think about it at all?
Deactivate it meaning fill her mind so full of other things long enough that it's just a dormant vibration, and it would take something rather significant for it to. It is funny for Esther to drive with Jerry across this nation, because as an entertainer, he's been everywhere, and he's been everywhere often. And so there's a story on just about every road in the nation that this place reminds him of this, and this place reminds him of this. And it's interesting, as they'll be driving out across this clear space for Esther, because she has no vibrational attachment to it, and Jerry will look out the window and begin to relive his stories. The more he focuses, the more of them come alive. And Esther often wonders, if he didn't start with the first story, would they all just remain inactive? And it is not that she does not enjoy them, but it is amusing that stories that she has never heard, they've been together for 25 years, and stories that she has never heard suddenly were as if he lived them yesterday, because something about even the way the air smells reminds him of them, you see. And so this woman with the policeman giving her a ticket, the easiest way, in other words, we do not know anyone who can really deactivate something that is, in other words, if all of the policemen were gone and the seatbelt laws were revoked and there was no government pushing against your sense of freedom at all, then this woman could just move around in a world where there was not much for her to see, and she wouldn't have to clean up her vibration. But when she lives in a world where there is so much evidence that rings her bells and gets her juices flowing in that negative way, then it would really benefit her if she could take that subject and work her way up the emotional scale. And the way we would do it if we were standing in her physical shoes, since you have activated again this subject, we will take this as the example. We would begin, if we were standing in her physical shoes, by saying things like, this policeman is just doing his job, it's what he's paid to do, and it isn't anything personal to me. But that wouldn't make her feel all that much better, because she's really not so angry at the policeman as she is about the concept of the law to begin with. And so as she makes that statement and realizes that she's getting no relief from it, then she could say something like, Well, even though there are all kinds of laws on the books, many laws that I don't even know anything about, I am, in effect, not even affected by most of them, because in my ignorance of them, I don't have them activated, and so I'm probably breaking laws all day, every day, that do not affect my vibration. And if that gives her a little bit of relief, then she's improved her vibration a bit.
So address the topic.
As she says, I've been driving here for a long time. I've been up and down this road many times, and it is so rare that I am the one that rendezvous with the policeman, even though I have not been wearing my belt. And so I've been getting away with it primarily because I'm not a target to anyone. And it's just something that's becoming less and less and less of an issue to me. And if that made her feel a little bit of relief, then she might say, and I suppose this seatbelt law is for the benefit of some. Undoubtedly, it has come about well-meaning people wanting to protect people. And I can remember when I was a young person, she might say, of my father always putting his arm out every time he was going to slow down, sort of an ineffective human seatbelt, so to speak, as he was trying to prevent me, and nothing happened, and so it was not important. But I understand the reason for the seatbelts, and I can foresee a time perhaps that it will be optional again, where we can buckle if we want to, rather than be mandatory. But as with everything, I am beginning to know that I'm the creator of my own reality, and that there are all kinds of laws that people would like to restrain me with, because they still, in their well-meaningness, believe that they would feel better if they could control their circumstances, and they haven't come to understand that they can't control their circumstances. And so it's just a quest to feel better, and in many cases a quest to help others people feel better. And I really don't have any issues with people wanting people's lives to go better. And so at the root of this particular law, I don't have any real beef. My beef is in about not having freedom at all, and I'm beginning to understand that I'm utterly free. I'm free to offer a vibration that gets me a ticket, or I'm free to offer a vibration that doesn't get me a ticket. And really it isn't anything to do with the seatbelt or the action. It's about the vibration that I'm offering. And I'm sort of glad this happened, because it gave me a chance to clean up my vibration relative to this subject, which has many tentacles relative to many different things. And I just feel better having had this chat with myself. So I'm almost glad that that well-meaning man was out there creating revenue for our state so that he could fulfill his reason for being. And I know that he's has to get all the marks on the chart. He has a certain quota, and I guess I can understand that I was a vibrational match to that, and I'm not unhappy about recognizing that I was a vibrational match to that, because now I realize, as I think back, that even though the tape was playing in the background, that I had this thing rumbling in the background of my physical experience, and now this brought it out into the foreground where I can address it. And now I've addressed it, and I've left it in a better feeling place, and now it will be less likely for something like that to ever happen to me again. And if it does, I'll just clean it up a little more. And fortunately, my life experience is going to constantly reflect to me all kinds of opportunities for me to just clean it up, 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 until pretty soon I'm living this wonderful life where I'm still exploring contrast, but it's much less contrast. In other words, I want a little and clean it up, and want a little and clean it up, and want a little and clean it up. And as people are looking at me, they say, only good things seem to happen to you. And I say, yes, because enough things that I didn't want happened, and I cleaned up my vibration, and now I'm in a place where I can maintain my vibration no matter what. My feelings are unhurtable. Nobody can do anything that sets me upside down. I'm now not asking anybody to do anything different so that I can feel better. I now do not need the laws of the nation to be changed so that I can feel better. I've discovered that I can feel better whether the laws are changed or not. In fact, the freedom that I wanted so much, that I was pushing so hard against, I've discovered is an inside job. I've discovered that the only place that freedom is anytime is within me. I have the freedom to line up with who I am or not. And no one has control over that but me. There is no ticket. Nobody can give me a ticket for my resistance. But life experience will reflect back to me the lack of freedom that I am allowing myself, or the abundance of freedom that I am allowing myself. It never did have anything to do with that dear policeman. Ever.